Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
A BBC News investigation into unregistered schools has found huge safeguarding issues, according to the Children's Commissioner for England. The school's watchdog, Ofsted, has identified more than 350 suspected unregistered schools in England. Anywhere that offers more than 18 hours a week of teaching is obliged to be registered as a school. Little is known about what happens inside these unregulated schools. But BBC's secret filming appears to show a child being hit at one school. In another, pupils' textbooks suggest gay people should be killed. Our special correspondent Lucy Manning reports.
Inside are secret schools, unregistered, hidden from the authorities, operating out of offices and houses, even a disused building on an industrial estate. We've obtained photos of the inside of other suspected unregistered schools. They show shocking conditions, squalor, appalling food hygiene, dangerous wiring. Schools need to be registered if 5 or more pupils are educated for at least 18 hours a week. Many aren't. Ofsted has identified more than 350 suspected unregistered schools. Only half have been inspected. We were able to find 2 that haven't been. One is here in Southend, Essex. It's 9:40 and children from the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community have started learning. On one day, a young boy appears to be crying.
There's a child here who clearly is upset.
Minutes later, the teacher seems to use force.
There's a physicality about that. They're manhandling the child. The child remains very distressed. That raises immediate concerns. I wouldn't expect to see that in the classroom. Any parent watching that would be very, very worried about what was going on.
On a different occasion, a boy appears to cower away from the teacher.
What you've got there is clearly a child who seems to be quite wary of the adult that's there. When the adult turns around, the child steps back and the adult clearly strikes the child. On all counts, that is completely unacceptable. There are huge safeguarding issues about the well-being of those children.
Are you surprised that this can happen in the UK in this day and age?
I am. Parents throughout the land will be so surprised that schools of this scale are operating outside the legal system.
The synagogue denies this is an unregistered school. It says education is provided here within the 18-hour limit, but when we observed it, it was operating for longer. It also says it's not aware of any assaults, but asks for more information. We've learned there have been more than 50 safeguarding alerts about unregistered schools across England and Wales in the past 4 years, according to our Freedom of Information requests. These are primarily physical abuse concerns, but include sexual abuse allegations. Not all unregistered schools are religious. Of those that are, half are Muslim. The BBC has obtained a copy of a book from a suspected unregistered school in Birmingham that's now closed. In one section, it openly advocates the murder of homosexuals. Another chapter warns a wife against refusing sex with her husband. Elsewhere, it says a woman wearing perfume is an adulterer. Another suspected unregistered school was run here in East London.
A broad and balanced curriculum.
Mohammed Omer, a former head teacher, was issued with a warning notice by Ofsted for running it. We've learnt he's facing prosecution for racially abusing Ofsted inspectors. It's alleged he shouted, "Britain first" paedophiles at them. We understand the registered school Mr. Omer ran previously, featured here in online footage, faced an extremism complaint. He denies all the allegations. He maintains he wasn't operating an unregistered school and says the centre was being run by someone else. Louise Casey warned about the problem of unregistered schools in her 2016 report into community cohesion.
The Department of Education really need to wake up to their own research, their own evidence, and what Ofsted is telling them and take action. It brings up kids that are anti a British way of life, that sometimes in some of these environments that actually they feel that they have more in common with some of the extremists and some of the terrorists.
Run out of a basement of a church in southeast London, we've also learnt of an unregistered school that even had its own logo and uniform. The problem, 4 months after it opened, head teacher Kay Johnson was banned from teaching for allegedly hitting a 5-year-old pupil with learning difficulties at a previous school. She denies the allegation and also says she never set out to do anything illegal by running the school.
We have this little hidden universe of tiny schools.
Ofsted says it needs a change in the law to close these schools.
Why have there been no prosecutions of those running unregistered schools?
There's a chain to this. It starts with Ofsted preparing a case, it goes to the Secretary of State to approve taking it forward, and then it goes to the Crown Prosecution Service. We've prepared a number of cases, none of them have yet been approved. We believe that many of these cases could and should have been taken forward.
Why can't you just go in and shut these schools down?
My hands are tied. We have no power to shut down. We have the power to enter and we can report. That is as far as our powers go. We can't even pick up evidence that we find there.
The BBC understands ministers have known about the presence of unregistered schools for nearly a decade. Documents we've seen show in 2009, then Education Secretary Ed Balls was warned some schools were operating illegally without the most basic health, safety and welfare checks. And this confidential advice note reveals Ofsted warned Education Secretary Nicky Morgan urgent action was needed. That was in 2015.
Shortly after, then Prime Minister David Cameron made a promise.
I can announce this today. If an institution is teaching children intensively, then whatever its religion, we will, like any other school, make it register so it can be inspected.
The Department for Education declined to be interviewed about our investigation. It said it jointly agrees with Ofsted if cases should be recommended for prosecution, and said where a school is operating illegally, action must be taken. Meanwhile, hundreds of these schools are still running, and thousands of children are left at risk of extremism, uninspected teaching and shocking conditions. Lucy Manning, BBC News.
Police have launched a child protection investigation at a suspected unregistered school in Essex following a BBC investigation. The synagogue says it has closed the school on its grounds while it examines allegations about the treatment of children. More than 350 schools in England and Wales that are thought to be unregistered. The school's regulator Ofsted says it lacks the powers to close them. Our special correspondent Lucy Manning has been investigating whether places offering exclusively religious education should even be considered as schools.
Young children on their way to school, except this one is believed to be unregistered. 5 minutes to 9 and a school bus arrives at the house in North London with the last of the children. We counted at least 30 going in. Schools need to register if they teach more than 5 children for at least 18 hours a week. When we knocked at the door, we were told it was a club. Suri, not her real name or voice, lives in Stamford Hill in North London. She says her son will be expected, because of community pressure, to enrol in a different unregistered school for 13 to 16-year-olds, known as a yeshiva. She's distraught about his education or lack of it.
And we're living in Britain. Boys can't speak English. They're going to be dependent on benefits for the rest of their lives. It's just not giving children any choice.
She told the council and Ofsted the school was unregistered.
How did it leave you feeling that none of these people who you approached seemed to be able to do anything about this unregistered school?
It's really, really upsetting. I was really angry because I'd gone out of my way. I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. And they turned me away. They told me they can't help me.
Madrasas and other centres providing religious education only after school don't need to be registered, but there is still concern about the associations of some. The Kadria Trust Community and Education Centre in Birmingham teaches children for 3 hours a day. During an event at the centre where some children are present, they sing the anthem of a Pakistani militant group. Its leader is said to be an inspiration for the killer of a Glasgow shopkeeper murdered for his religious views. One verse promotes an enthusiasm to die for the sake of religion. The centre said the singer had added his own words and they had strongly objected. Last night we reported on a suspected unregistered school in Southend where a teacher appeared to manhandle a pupil. The community here denied this was a school, but we've now discovered there was even a brochure advertising it. It says the entire atmosphere at the school is one of love and personal attention. We understand the school has now been closed while the synagogue investigates.
The BBC has obtained a copy of legal guidance which might help to explain why so few of these schools have been shut down. Drawn up in 2014 for Jewish religious yeshivas, it's also known to have been cited internally by the Department for Education. It says places only providing religious education can't be classed as schools and therefore can't be shut down.
The implication, the less maths and English taught, the easier it might be to escape inspection.
We do not want kids growing up here who are only taught one religious way of thinking, and that religion covers their whole way of life, from what they can work as, who they can be, what type of jobs they can do, how they should treat women. That's crazy. So even if it's technically legal, it's wrong.
The Department for Education says it can't comment on legal opinions prepared by others. It says where a school is operating illegally, action must be taken. But thousands of children are still arriving each morning at suspected unregistered schools. Lucy Manning, BBC News.